SHAUNEE BRANNAN here of prayersandpunchlines.com, your faith, family, fashion, and fun blog. And today's topic, as promised, is women who are anti-women friendships. Yep, that's right. You've heard it all. You've heard, I don't do females. You know, all I have is guy friends. I prefer to hang with men. Yes, we are attacking this topic because I feel like it's kind of something that I've always heard here and there, and I've always wanted to talk about it. So I just feel like now is the time. Listen, before we get started, hit the subscribe button. You also can catch up with Prayers and Punchlines on all your social media outlets. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram under SHAUNEE BRANNAN. I would love to connect with you, love to be a part, love for you to benefit from all the blogging and vlogging and all of those different things. And so let's dive right into it. So as I said before, this is just kind of something I've always heard, and as of late, I had a conversation with my sister kind of referencing this because a young lady wanted to befriend her, and even before the relationship could get started, the girl swore off of the relationship, you know, told my sister pretty much like, this is why I don't do women. This is why I don't deal with women. You know, like we've heard it all. We even know some women that do have some women friendships, but they are very anti-connection with women. Listen, I can understand why you would feel that way. I can remember experiencing negative female relationships all the way from elementary to middle to high school, even as an adult. Because of the nature of what I've always done and who I am, I tend to attract women, but I attract all types of women. I attract the insecure, the secure, I attract the immature, the mature, and a lot of times I've had so much experience with why people would say women are this way, that way. But let me tell you something. If you deal with people long enough, you'll find out that men have their issues too. Amen? Okay, so this whole thing about, hey, I don't connect to women, I don't need women. I feel like if you're a woman, you do need connections with women. And I will get to that later on in the video. But I want to deal now with the two types of women that you typically get that are anti-women. The first one are women who have sworn off of dealing with other women. They don't like it, they hate it even, and they profess to like male company. The second type are women who have pretty much given up any hope of female connection. So it's not that they're necessarily anti-women relationships, they just live in unbelief. They don't believe that they can have any good female connections. They say, I've tried, but I've just given up. I'm fine either by myself or hanging with the fellas. And so first, I want to deal with woman, the first woman I spoke of. Let's call her type A, women who prefer the company of men. They typically wear this confession as a badge of honor. They'll say it proud. They'll proclaim it. They'll label themselves and wear it with all of their might. Yes, I don't do women, I hang with the fellas. Not even necessarily like their boyfriends or their husbands and their friends. No, all of their friends are male. And a lot of times they'll say he's my best friend or that it's a platonic relationship. But they all out prefer the company of men. They use this decision as a basis for defensive behavior to what they consider habitual offensive behavior. So in short, they're saying I'm like this because all of them are like that. Like, they don't necessarily view it as something negative, but they view it as something that they had to become because of the way all the other women are. So they'll say things like, you know, women are jealous of me, they're competitive, they try to steal my boyfriends. Like, they put women in this light to where they have to fight with them, where it's a combative relationship and where they're constantly defending themselves. And most times they will paint themselves as this humble little lamb who's never done anything wrong, but women just seem to have a problem with them because they are so fabulous. Yes, most times they're kind of conceited and self-centered in a way, and they feel like they've just got it going on so much that it's impossible to connect with women because women just find them to be something to be worried about. Okay, or they'll say they consider these they love the attributes and the qualities of men, and they prefer exposure to these qualities. So they'll say, you know, men are just cool, men are just this or that. The truth is, yes, men are very different from women when it comes to socializing. Women, we're very communicative. We're all into the details. They aren't, and they really aren't petty. For some reason, we do have a petty gene. Now, I do know some petty men, but listen, ladies, let's just be honest. We have the petty label on lock. It is for us. We wear it. We know how to do it. We know how to master it. Men typically are not like that unless they've been around a lot of women, grown up around women, then they get the whole petty thing and they do participate in it. But most of the women, type A women that I'm speaking of, prefer men because they say, you know, men are just like this. But a lot of times they prefer the company of men because they like the attention that they get from men. They like the doting qualities. They like the fact that there's not really any other women around and all eyes on them because they're the only women there. But I need to say this, in considering how men typically are, that they're a little bit more harsh, a little bit more brash, they don't really have a whole lot of emotion. As a woman, if you are saying, I prefer these qualities in men, you have to recognize that those qualities are also present in you, which is pretty unnatural for a woman. God created us to pretty much be in touch with our emotions, to be the type of beings that are well aware and sensitive, and it's not a negative thing. So to say you prefer the male characteristics over the ones that come natural to you, you might want to consider why that is. Okay, so we'll get back to you in a minute. But I want to get to type B woman who says, hey, women are hard to be friends with. I've tried, I've had a couple of them, but I've just kind of given up. It's not going to work for me. Typically, they say, like I just said, that I've tried this, but it's really hard and me and women we don't click. Or they'll say after a short period of time, they experience rejection or detachment. So they'll say, hey, I connect to these women. We start hanging out, we start doing things together, and then we either fall out or they don't want to be around me anymore, or there's some sort of detachment there where we can no longer continue this blossoming friendship or relationship. Or they'll say, once I connect to them and start hanging out with them, I find out how flaky they are. All they want to do is gossip, be nasty and mean. It's hard for me to fit into the clique or the group that's already established. And so I just, I give up. Okay, so now that we've talked about the two types, if you are one of these women that say, hey, I prefer the company of men, I don't need women, ask yourself now, are you type A or are you type B? If you are type C or D, I don't know what it is. That means you're in denial, okay? You're either type A or B. So just find your way somewhere in there. But these are the things to consider, whether you are woman A or you're woman B. First, we need to deal with how you define friendships. This is huge and this is critical. So you need to ask yourself, how do I define what a friendship is? How do I determine what a friend is? There are some people that everybody is their friend. My husband is one of them. He is friendly, frank. Everybody's his friend. He can meet somebody today and tomorrow he'll be like, yeah, my friend Joe. You just met him yesterday and already he's your friend. Some people use the term friend loosely. I'm not knocking it. I believe you can have a wide range of friends that all vary in the level of importance or privacy that you give them. For myself, I believe that you define your friendships by the values you possess, not the morals. Values and morals are different. Your morals are actually shaped by your values, but your values are the things that you want out of life. What do you find to be valuable? What is worthy of your sacrifice? Family, career, spirituality. What are the things that you find the most valuable that you are willing to throw yourself into? This is usually how you define your friendships. For me, God and family are like the most important things. Fulfilling God's will in my life is the most important things. My friends, my very close friends, mirror this value of mine. I tend to connect to and hold on to people that understand that side of me and who I can absolutely share my struggles with without judgment, without criticism. Also, for myself, the thing that I value very, very, very much is loyalty. I am a very loyal person to people, whether we are friends or not. If you share your secrets with me, if you share things with me, it will stay with me because I value character, I value trust, being trusted. And so these are things that are very important to me, and I look for this in my friends. When I say loyalty, not ride or die, I mean for you to take a bullet for me, not that type of thing, but loyal to who you are as a person, because when you're loyal to yourself, you will be loyal to other people. So if I sense any flakiness, any unsureness, any lack of self-love, 9 times out of 10, our relationship as friends may waver, because I tend to connect to the strength in you as you connect to the strength in me. And so how you define what a friend really is very, very critical. Some people don't know what a friend really is. They don't even know how they define friend. So it's part of the reason why you may be having a problem connecting with other women, because depending on how you define friendship determines what you expect out of these connections that you have. Some people determine their girlfriend relationships based off of somebody they can go get their nails done with, who they can go shopping with, who they can talk about people with, and the relationship really has no substance, so no wonder it doesn't stay together. Or somebody they can just go to different parties or things like that with. Man, you know, these are things that you can just have with anybody, and it's not really a friendship. So be careful in labeling something as a friendship when this person may just be a good acquaintance. There are certain acquaintances that you have that are A-okay. You may connect with this person over golf, or you may connect with this person over doing puzzles, or this one over shopping, and maybe they're just your shopping friend. Maybe they're just your golf friend, and that's okay. Your relationship is defined by a social activity, and so your expectation should be defined by this social activity. You shouldn't expect just your shopping buddy to also be your prayer partner if you haven't determined that that's a value that you want in your friends. How do I define what a friend is? Because this is very critical in you building relationships. Also, another thing to consider: do you have any friends from childhood? Listen, if you're over the age, let's just be generous and say 21. If you're 21 and over, and you don't have any connections or remaining relationships from childhood, meaning people you may have gone to church with, people you may have played with in your neighborhood growing up, even school friends, you have no childhood friends left, nobody that you talk to, you need to ask yourself why or why not. Why haven't these relationships stood the time? Listen, it doesn't necessarily have to be that you have these people that you grew up with, that you're friends with. I do not believe that time equates to solid relationships. Some people say, I've known you all your life. You've known me, but you've not known me. You've known who I was all my life, but you don't really know me. And so I'm not saying just because you grew up with a person or they've known you 20, 30 years that they should be your friend. But most people have some sort of connection with people that they've grown up with. If you don't, you need to ask yourself why. Did they decide they didn't want to be around you anymore? If so, why? Or did you disconnect from them? Did you start getting older and living your life and saying, hey, I don't need you anymore, I've outgrown you? Because I think that's a good place to start, is with people who have known you for a long time. Sometimes those are some of the best relationships, and if you've kind of let those go or kind of pushed them to the side, you really need to evaluate why. Okay? Also, another thing to consider: what was the last friendship, kind of going with what I just said, what was the last friendship of significance that you had, and why doesn't it exist anymore? Who was the last person you were really close to, outside women, outside of men? Don't start thinking about former relationships. I'm talking about, who was the last woman? Was it cousin, sister, or a girlfriend? Who was the last person that you were almost friends with or all the way friends with, and why aren't you anymore? Was there a falling out? Was there something that happened? You need to consider what it is that made the relationship fall apart. What did this relationship consist of or not consist of? Because in evaluating this will help you to see why your relationships didn't last and why the ones coming may not last. Listen, the other thing I want you to consider lastly is that the law of attraction is a very real thing. Okay, we hear it all the time, but the truth is we are wired for compatibility. Okay, we are wired to look for people that understand us. We look for a place of understanding and acceptance. Even people say, I don't care what they think. You do care what somebody thinks. You want to be accepted and loved by somebody. That is the way that God created us, for likeness. And so you tend to attract what you are, even if you don't know that that's what you are. And so you can sit there and you can go down this list of 7 and 8 people that you've tried to be friends with and it didn't work out, and this one stole your boyfriend, and this one stole your money, and this one told your business, and this one took your car without asking, and this one you got into a fight with. You can go down the list of why all the last 7 people didn't work out, but the one thing you have to know, listen up. The one thing you have to know is that out of all those 7 people, you are the common denominator, and you picked all 7 of them. That's right. You picked all 7 of them, and all 7 of them picked you, and you connected with all 7 of them. Are you sick of me clapping yet? You picked all 7 of them. Listen, this isn't me coming down on you. I'm trying to get you to see that you picked all 7. And so if all 7 of them was rotten and terrible and wasn't good, and they were horrible friends, and they did this and they did that, and you're sick of women, you have to ask yourself, what is it in me that all 7 of these rotten, terrible, stanky friends picked me? There is some commonality there that you have to take ownership of to figure out why you keep picking, or why these types of friends keep picking you. So now that we figured out type A, type B, we've kind of gone down the characteristics, let's talk about solutions. And these are for the people that actually want to change this. Maybe you're saying, this is the way I am, this is the way I'll always be. I like it. I like hanging with men. I like hanging with stanky, dirty, stanky men. I love it. I love it. Well, listen to me. Anyway, even if you don't want help, just hear me out, okay? Like I said before, we as people are wired for connection. We're wired for compatibility. To say that you are only compatible in relationships and friendships with men, you know, let me say, I do think that male relationships are very beneficial. Okay, I have brothers that I have close relationships with. There are men that I can talk to and have good friendships with. And my husband, I have a very good relationship with my husband in terms of our friendship. Set aside any romance, I can hang with my husband. We can kick it, we can talk, we can have great conversations. You know, initially when me and my husband were dating, it was a couple of times that I went out with some of his friends when I were getting to know them, and they said, hey, your wife is cool. She's like one of the dudes. And I was like, okay, I don't know what that means, but I don't know if that's a compliment, but I don't want to be like a dude. But actually, during that time in my life, I was a little bit rough around the edges and kind of out of touch with the feminine side of me that not necessarily was girly or prissy, but in touch with my emotions. I had gone through some things that have kind of made me hard, so I could relate to men. I didn't necessarily want the intimacy that is involved in female relationships. Hear me if you don't hear anything else. The way that men relate to each other and the way that women relate to each other are entirely different. Men do not have to have any deep connections or any spiritual connections. They just like to come together because they kind of think the same. They think the same about sports. They think the same about women. They do think the same about God. There is some spirituality in there, but they can just click like that and be cool, have no expectations. They're not mad if their homie went out with the other homie without them. They're really not competitive in that sense. They're just cool. They have really no expectations, whereas women, when we become friends, it's kind of like, well, you're my friend, and we don't know if she's our friend yet. Yes, I get that there is politics involved with it, which is why you may be saying, see, that's why I don't do that. But you have to find women that are mature enough to be able to accept that this friend may have a relationship with another friend, and it does not affect your relationship, that you guys are still close, you have what you have. But the way that we relate to each other, we are way more communicative, whereas men in their conversation when they're expressing things, they do A and they do Z. They don't do any of the in-between. They don't care about L, G, P. They don't care about any of those things. They just want to know A and they want to know Z. Whereas women, we care about A, B, C, D. We care about all of it. We like to express and we like to be heard and to hear someone else. These things matter to us. We like to vent. We like to talk about our emotions. We like to talk about what's going on with our kids, our job, how we may have been treated. And we want somebody to be able to sit there and say, girl, I know what? We want somebody to care about the details. Listen, you don't get that with men. They don't care about the details. They're sitting there saying, They're not hearing anything. But with women, there's a lot of things you don't even have to explain. They just understand. You can go to a woman and say, guess what happened on my job today? And when she said this to me, instantly you get the understanding of why they shouldn't have said that to you and it was offensive. Whereas if you're telling a guy about it, they're like, so what's the big deal? They don't get why you're all in your feelings and you're upset. Now sometimes it's good to have someone that can be reasonable enough to talk you off the ledge, but sometimes you don't want somebody talking you off the ledge. Sometimes you want somebody to just get and understand why you're upset, why you're in your feminine emotions, and that is totally okay, and this is how God made you. Listen, with women, you get that likeness and that understanding. You get somebody that's been where you are, is where you are, or are where you're going, and it's this closeness. Is how God created us to have connections with both male, female, children, the elderly. There is a plethora of experiences that you get to benefit from, not cutting anyone out of what you consider to be a good relationship. Listen, also, in order to build significant relationships, we need to understand how they benefit us, which is what I just referenced. If you have already talked yourself out of why you even need women relationships and they're not important and they're nothing and all of these things, you will see no need to try to work on whatever it is within you that is keeping you from connecting to people. And so an understanding of why women connecting to other women is so valuable. Listen, I've gone through some very, very hard seasons of my life where I was depressed, suicidal, very unhappy, falling to sleep at night in tears, waking up in the middle of night in tears, waking up in the morning in tears. And you know what? There was times I went to the men that I know for counsel or for help and understanding, and they did the best that they could in their male qualities. But sometimes as a woman, when you go to another woman and you begin to express certain parts of your life, there is a nurturing quality that God has put in women that is just innate. It is there, and you experience that in safe relationships with women. I do not recommend pouring out your soul and your business to people that are not mature, women that are not mature and that have not arrived to this place where they embrace the emotion and the love that is found in women. But I will say, when you find that right relationship, it is satisfying to you. Trust me. If you still, after hearing all this, feel like there's not a need for it, you need to ask yourself what part of you as a woman has grown hard and what needs to be worked on or softened, or if there's any bitterness or venom or vengeance still in your heart. Ask God to take it, because I'm telling you, your next best relationship or friendship is just a woman away. Okay, from you deciding to change the side of your heart and open up your understanding and your hope for that type of relationship. Also, in talking about the law of attraction, let me say this to you, that friendly attracts friends. If you want friends, you have to show yourself friendly, not creepy or stalky. Listen, there is some stalkers and some people that's creepy, and you're hiding in people's bushes. Everywhere they go, they at the mall, you pop up from the clothing racks. Hey, I didn't know you was here. They at church, you be following them in the bathroom. Listen, I'm not talking about being creepy and stalkerish, but being willing to put yourself out there. Invite somebody out for coffee. When you go out for coffee, have decent conversation. Don't dive into asking them personal questions. And when you're leaving, don't say, now when we doing this again? Like you're immediately clinging. Okay, no, just kind of let your relationships evolve organically. Listen, the close relationships that I have, they're so beautiful because they've evolved over time. They've evolved organically. Yes, there are some people you meet and you know instantly this is a God-ordained relationship. We will be friends, we will be close, we will be connected. But there are some relationships that over time you find yourself growing close to that person through experiences or interaction. And it's not this instantaneous, we're connected and locked, I can't get rid of you. But over time you find, hey, this is great. I really do like this person. I'm getting to know this person. You're actually dating your friends to see if it's more than what you thought it was or what you excused away as not being anything. So allow your relationships to build organically. Don't get upset if you've gone out with them and then you see them on Instagram or Facebook, other places with other people, and you weren't invited, or they didn't invite you on the girls' trip, or they didn't call you for 2 weeks. Listen, people have lives, people have other relationships, but I promise you, as long as you are who you are, you will attract what you are. If what you are is not healthy or immature, you will not attract the people that are. I am being honest with you. So listen, if you're sitting there saying, I really do want friends, I want good relationships, take time to start to heal whatever areas. Ask God to show you what's keeping you from connecting to healthy people that will help to support who you are, to support your purpose, and God will start to show you. He'll show you what kind of derailed certain relationships. Maybe certain friendships just fell apart because they were all built on negative things that you are trying to get out of you. And so work on you. Also, I really need to say this too, and this was kind of at the beginning of my notes, but I want to say this. If you are the type of person that is saying, well, I got my sister, I got my cousin, and all of your women relationships that are close are only people in your family, you kind of need to consider that too. I almost want to say sisters and cousins don't count, even though my sister is one of my friends, okay? She's one of my very close friends. But I have relationships outside of my sister, and a person that is in church, working, in all sorts of places. You should be able to build relationships outside of your sister or your cousins. If you can't, you need to ask yourself, is there some side of me that feels like women are not trustworthy, where I just don't want to be around them unless they're in my family? So I encourage you, try to build relationships outside of your family, because guess what? All of our families hold strengths, but they also hold dysfunctions. And if your only circle consists of people that are as strong or as dysfunctional as you, you may have a blind eye to things that a good friend outside of your circle can help you see. Yes, friends help us grow, they help us change, they challenge us. But if all of these people only consist of people in your family that all think the same, you are robbing yourself of external relationships that can help the internal. Lastly, I need to say this, and if you don't hear anything else, hear this. If you have only one good friend, if you have one good girlfriend, just one, that is good enough. Listen, this whole idea that you gotta have 4 and 5 friends and it's gotta be a bunch of you all, that's nice, that's fine and dandy, but it's a little bit high school, a little bit middle school, and honestly, the older you get, it really doesn't work to have this big group of friends, because as you mature, you start to see the relationships that are meant to stand and last a lifetime, that will walk with you through sicknesses, divorce, the loss of jobs and children on the blink, and questions about God. Listen, if you have one good friend, that is great. You don't have to feel like you've got to have all of these girlfriends or all of these people in your life. Listen, I have a couple of really good friends. I have a lot of acquaintances, people that I know, people that I meet, people that I see. But you know what? If I only had just one good friend, just one, I would be so happy, because a friend is somebody literally that sticks closer than a brother. Speaking of people in your family, they stick closer than a brother, and it's hard to find that in so many people, because friendships are about sacrifice in a lot of ways, and a lot of us, we just don't have it in us to pay that type of price with everybody, with 5 and 6 people. If you've got 10 and 12 friends, you're not paying the price to be somebody's real friend. I'm just telling you the truth. And so listen, rest easy. If you only meet one person and you lock in with that one person and it starts building, you are doing well. So listen, ladies, as I get ready to go, listen, feel free to comment, feel free to send me questions, feel free to reach out to me. Again, www.prayers.com, SHAUNEEBRANNAN.com. You can reach me on your social media outlets, and please subscribe, because there will be more videos on faith, family, fashion, and fun. Hey, I love you guys. Thank you for viewing. Like, share, and send it to somebody, and I'll see you again soon.